being clutch is actually about being prepared. By the nature of my job, I think a lot about why is it that some students perform well under pressure of test day and why some choke. I don't have a better word for it, so I was going to call it choking. Why is it that some students on test day, their anxiety gets the best of them? Well, there's two actually really good books that get to the heart of sort of what's happening behind the scenes. So I will summarize the books for you. I read them so you didn't have to. They actually both say a pretty similar thing. So choking is most likely to be caused by practice not being similar enough to the real thing. The difference between how you feel and the experience of practice versus the real thing on test day causes your brain to freak out. Here's actually a cognitive scientist that summarizes this concept.
Whether we're taking a test or giving a talk, it's easy to feel like we're ready at the top of our game and then perform at our worst when it matters most. It turns out that rarely do we practice under the types of conditions we're actually going to perform under.
That's it. The big secret is to try to simulate test day as much as possible. And a lot of students actually don't do this. For example, a student might take an untimed practice test, or they might take a test with a different number of questions than what show up on the real thing. Or they might take a test on paper when the real thing is on a computer. I've seen a lot of people take practice tests with their phone next to them when in reality on test day it'll be locked up. A lot of people take their practice test at 5 p.m. when the real thing is going to be at 8 a.m. I think you get the idea. So aside from all of the test logistics that you want to try to match up as much as possible, there's one other thing that you should try to simulate as best you can. Try to simulate the pressure that you're going to feel on exam day.
Practice, 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 and practicing not only in situations where it doesn't matter, but creating situations, pressure situations, where you can practice and get used to the kinds of situations you're going to perform under.
That way, when you sit down to take the real thing, all those feelings aren't new. You might be wondering, how in the test prep universe should you try to recreate this pressure? And there's no perfect way to do it, but I have a couple tips to artificially raise the stakes during practice, even if it's in some silly ways. So, for example, you could approach one practice test question and say, if I get this question correct, that means I'm going to pass the test. Or you could say, however I score on this practice test is how I'm going to score on the real thing. Of course, that's not true because they're just practice tests, but you get the idea. One other fun one that I like to do is I'll tell my friends I am taking a timed practice test tomorrow at 9 a.m. and no matter how I do, I'm going to post my score. All of these actions are basically going to create consequences that's going to make you anxious. And you will learn to deal with these feelings over and over and over again as you do more practice tests over and over and over again, so that on the real thing, those feelings aren't new and they'll feel less overwhelming. If I had to summarize the whole thing, I would say being clutch is actually about being prepared, both of course around content, but also the feelings of anxiety that come up on test day. You would have felt them before, you would have experienced them before, so that way when they do happen on test day, it's not that big of a deal.